Hola chicos! I'm Christian and I'm moving to Spain. And this is Chris in Spain. And welcome to another video, and you can hear I'm still sick, so let's see if I can speak in this one or... Well, I can't speak anyway, I'm too stupid to speak English, so... But we have some more fun facts for you today. So let me get right into it. Last time I talked a little bit about oranges and orange trees and how they can grow in Spain, and Spain are the only country where they can grow in. But another interesting fact is that the bananas can only grow in Spain. And this is a little complicated because I've seen a banana tree in Italy, on the island of Sicily actually, which is the most convenient place to have a banana tree in the whole Italy. So if it should work in Italy, it will work on the island of Sicily. But even there, it didn't really work. It will give like a few bananas that was kind of eatable, but not great, you know, and that was something I heard from the actual owner of the tree. It was a private person just having it in his backyard, but again, as he said, mostly for fun and for the look of it, and it looks nice. I love how it looks. I love how bananas taste and everything, and this little is a nice color. I like everything about bananas. But then he told me that bananas can only grow in Spain, but they're not native to Spain. They're only native to South America and very specific countries in South America. But they can grow in Spain. But how do they grow? They grow better than Italy. They grow way better than Italy. But they don't grow as well as in South America, of course. But you could make it work. But as you may know or may not know, Spain are not a producer commercially of bananas, and that is because it doesn't work well enough for a company to be able to actually earn money by doing it. But it would be very amazing if we actually started doing it, because again, it's the only country in all of Europe where you can grow bananas. And as most other fruits and vegetables, we get them from Spain or another country in Europe where they can grow. And many things like a cucumber we can grow in all of Europe. So then we can get the one native to our own country. But bananas, you can't even get that in Europe. Or you could get them from Spain, but as of now, you can't really get them from any country in Europe. So it would be amazing if they changed that. Another fun fact connected to bananas is that they only commercially come from, I think it's 5 different countries in South America. And then they are sailed, and that means not Asia either. They don't grow in Asia, only South America. South America is the only continent in the world where bananas grow commercially and will be sold from. And that means they are exported from South America and imported to Europe, and they are sailing over the sea, long trip, not good for bananas. They are getting ready on the actual ship, so that's not great. So imagine how good it will taste if we got them native from Europe, if we get one fresh, or how good it will taste when you actually are in South America. But yeah, they're saying this long trip, and then they come to Europe, and what happens then? I've always been thinking, do the countries go together and talk about who gets which bananas, or do they just pick it from the boat? Some countries come first and another comes later and pick what left. Always been thinking that Denmark must be the last one in the line, or then Denmark pick the worst one on purpose, because they know they can charge us a lot of money for a banana, where in Spain they pick the bigger ones because they know people are not that stupid there, so they will not buy a small fruit it has to be the same size as the oranges, which are very big in Spain, and watermelons even bigger, whatever. But I actually find out quite recently that actually Ireland, or one single company in Ireland, buys all the bananas from South America, and then that company in Ireland export it to the rest of Europe. So actually, the bananas you have in your country, if you're living in Europe and not in Ireland, you have imported that from Ireland, which has imported from South America. So that's quite interesting. So Ireland should have the best bananas, right? Well, I don't know, I have not been in Ireland. But if they don't even pick the big ones for themselves first, then I'm sure it's a scam that they pick the small one like Denmark do and sell them overpriced. But enough about bananas. Now to where bananas grow. They grow on palm trees, and maybe banana trees are not. It's actually not true. It's actually not a palm tree. It just looked like that. It's in the family, or you will think that, but it's actually not even in the palm tree family because it's not even a tree. But that's a whole other story for another video. But palm trees are actually growing in Spain, but also palm trees are not native. I've always been thinking that palm trees must be native to Spain, because when I'm in Denmark, I've never seen a palm tree, but when I is on vacation in Spain, I can walk 1 meter out of the airport, literally, without seeing a palm tree. The first time I was in Spain, despite when I was a kid, so the first time as a teenager, and my parents and so on, I walked out of the airport and the first thing I saw was a palm. Amazing. And that's Barcelona airport, so I don't know specifically. When you go to Barcelona airport, you walk out of the airport, there are palm trees all over the place. So I've always been thinking they must be native to Spain, because in Italy they don't really have them. And this, they have them in Italy, but not in every single city. There's many places in Italy, actually most places I have been in Italy, they didn't have palm trees. I didn't see a single one. So I was thinking, okay, maybe they're native to Spain only or something, but I have actually found out that they are not even native to Spain either. They're not native to Europe at all. But Spain has imported a lot of palm trees, and Italy has some as well, and they have planted it there, but they live perfectly fine in Spain. So every single palm tree you see in Spain are actually planted, and maybe you will think that makes sense, because when you are in the big cities, they are on a straight line in the road, so of course they are planted. It's not nature that makes these straight lines. But when you see a little forest, a little more complicated structures, you can call it, it's not as random as it looks. It's actually planted too. Maybe the exact palm tree you're seeing in these small random forests are not planted by a human, but it has been another palm tree losing its seeds, and then a new palm tree grows up. That could also be the reason, but the first palm tree in the forest has always been planted by a human, so that's interesting to know, and I have a hard time believing that. So enough about bananas and palm trees and nature and what's native to Spain, but now more about the country in general. Spain are one of these. Keep burping. Spain are one of these countries that are actually made of other countries. It's kind of the same as Italy, but Italy is a different other story, and I could speak along about both of them, so I will try to not talk too much about Italy and keep it as Spain. But Spain has been a lot of countries in the past. And then you're probably thinking about Catalonia now, because Catalonia wants to be its own country. And why does it want that? Is that because it was its own country before, and then it becomes Spain? Then you are thinking, okay, there are 17 regions in Spain, and one of them are Catalonia. So Spain must have been 17 countries at one point, and now they have united to one big country like the US and the 50 state it has and something. I'm not sure if that's the story of US, but that's how I imagine the story of US being. But again, keep it to Spain. It's not that simple actually, because I have looked a lot into the story about Catalonia, and I'm not sure I remember correctly, but it's not as simple as Catalonia was a country just a few decades ago, and then it became a part of Spain. That's not how the story is. Catalonia has in one way or another actually never been a country when I will look into the story. Or at least when it was a country, it was way before Spain, and it wasn't originally how the country was, because there was some original countries and then they have changed a lot. It's hard to explain, but then at some point there was something called Catalonia. But again, after that it has actually changed and been something else before it was Spain. So Catalonia is not even the last thing it has been before it becomes Spain. Catalonia was just what we ended up calling the region after it becomes Spain, because that's the most appropriate name for that region, because that was pretty much what Catalonia was at the old times. But that also means that it's like every single person's oh my god, I can't speak. Okay, let me phrase it like this. Every single person that's alive right now have not experienced Catalonia as a country, because that's how old that history is. So you will not see one 80-year-old lady in Catalonia being like, oh, I remember the time Catalonia was actually a country and I wanted to be like that again. So that's why I'm voting for us to be our own country again. That's not something that even possible, because Catalonia wasn't a country from 80 years ago. So actually nobody should care, because there's not a single person alive that have experienced it any very different than this now. Every single person has been born in Spain. So why do we still think of Catalonia like a country and want it to be its own? Well, as you can see about what happened when the conflict was big a couple of years ago, most of the people voted for it to not be its own country and still be a part of Spain, and that's why it's still a part of Spain today. So most of the people in Catalonia pretty much don't want it to be independent, I guess. But some people think the system is broken or something. I don't want to talk too much about it, because then politics come into it. I don't want to talk politics. I only want to talk facts. So I'm gonna stop here before I heat it up and talk about the rest of Spain and the other regions. And actually, at some point, the Muslims, that's good enough, from Africa and the East, not so much the East, much Africa, I forgot the name now. I had the name right here, but I forgot it before it came out. So they are the African countries. The North Africa and the East came up and took Spain pretty much, and they forced people to be Muslims. And then something pretty amazing happened, because Spain took their country back from the Muslim, African, whatever people, and they did it in a quite amazing way, I think. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's amazing and fun, because what they did was they were forcing people to become a Christian now. And I'm not Christian myself. I am Christian, but I'm not a Christian. See, my pronunciation is not perfect, so it's really hard to say this, but My name is Christian, but I'm not related to the region, to the religion. You know what I mean at all. So I don't think it's a solution for people to become Christians. So that thing on its own, taken out of the context, I hate that. But I like it because it's like straight up revenge, eye for an eye. Because the Muslims want everyone to be Muslim, so then when they took back the country, they were like, okay, now everyone has to be Christian. Because that's how it works, apparently. You told us that. So either the Muslim people changed and become Christian, or then they went out of the country. Or else Spain just kicked them out of their country. And of course, some of the really bad people was just straight up kicked back to Africa. Belongs. Oh, that was that was a nice ending to the story. I think like a country actually taking themselves back, and it ended up in kind of the same state as it was before the African people came and they took the country, but actually not the same state, because even though it wasn't for such a long time, then they have still affected the country, like they got the kebab and all of this, but all other countries also did that, but they even got some architecture from the African and Muslims and whatever, East, a lot of different things, and they got some of the culture too, not the shitty ass forcing people to be Muslim or overtaking other countries, part of the culture, but some of the good stuff too. They kicked the bad stuff back to Africa, but they kept the good stuff. You can say it like that. And what is that? Well, I don't know. Cannot mention it all, but it has just colored Spain and made Spain what it is today. This multicultural place that just doing things on their own and doing. I think Spain has collected good things from everywhere in the world and have a bit of both of all worlds. I think Spain has a lot of good things collected in their own little country. That's just worked out for me, so I'm very happy the story went as it did, because if not, Spain would be a different place, and I think Spain is, I was about to say perfect, but close enough. So if anything was changed in the history, I would probably think Spain will be worse today than it is today. So sometimes good things can come from bad things happening in the past, and that's what happened this time around, I think. But talking about being overtaken about, I can't speak. Talking about being taken over by, I'm struggling for real. It's exciting. Talking about being taken over by other countries. There's one thing Spain has not taken back, and that is England. Not that England has been Spain, but I'm talking about a very specific part of England, that is Gibraltar, which are actually the most south part of England.